Well, greetings YouTube, LMS Tactical here. Sorry about the sun reflection. I'm on my way somewhere to meet up with a buddy, and I thought, you know what? Let me take this time and make a quick video. So I was trying to think, well, what subject do I want to talk about? I've mentioned this years ago, but I think it's time we talk just a little bit about post-shooting considerations. And this is designed for those of you that either carry weapons concealed or are considering it. And it's probably the most important consideration when we talk about concealed carry, and it's one that's probably talked about least. I got to turn on the air conditioner, man. It's hot, and I know it's going to be noisy. I'm sorry, but oops, wrong button. Come on, cockbiter. Okay, so sorry if that's loud. Think back on like the Zimmerman case. I think that was in Florida. Think back on all of the shootings that made the news that you're aware of. You know, they all seem to be somewhat controversial, with very few exceptions. You know, I mean, if somebody's hacking people to death with a machete and a citizen pulls a gun out and shoots, and he's a hero, and he's exonerated within 10 minutes. But 99.9% of the time, once you drop the hammer on somebody, your world of shit is just starting. I mean, I won't even get into the legal cost of defending yourself and blah, blah, blah. I mean, let's be realistic here. If you happen to be white like me and you shoot somebody that's non-white, you're double fucked in terms of you're having to prove that you're not just some racist vigilante out there hunting minorities. So with that in mind, I want to just go over a few post-shooting or post-deadly force considerations. And that basically means if you get into a situation where you are unfortunately required to take somebody's life, I'm running a red light, yellow actually, you need to think about this shit ahead of time, because these things can turn into a nightmare beyond just the fact that you had to take somebody's life, which in and of itself is hard enough to deal with, no matter how tough you think you are. So trust me. You're gonna at some point gonna have to answer questions, and that leads me to the first interview. If you drop the hammer on somebody and you critically wound them, or God forbid have to take their life based on their own actions, because that's what you're doing, right? You're responding to a lethal threat that you have great, fear of great bodily injury or death. That's what made you draw your weapon and drop the hammer. And for the purposes of this video, we're talking about shootings. The same is true if you beat somebody to death with a fucking wiffle ball bat or a Q-tip. These pertain. You're going to be talking to the authorities, aka cops, the poo-poo. I'm going to tell you right now, as a retired police officer, that you need to have an attorney with you. I have said this in other videos that just about everybody, and I know this pisses the cops off, but look, man, I'm about helping people, not just helping cops. And the reality is, just about everybody that I put away that went to prison talked themselves right into it. I'm not saying that they weren't guilty. Of course they were guilty, but I used to listen to people talking and think to myself, holy fuck, you got a right to remain silent. Why aren't you not shutting up? I wouldn't tell them that because I was a cop. I wanted to fucking make the arrest, get a conviction. That being said, I would recommend that you just politely say, hey, you know what, this is a serious situation and I don't want to answer any questions without an attorney. That's just my advice. Take it or leave it. Hopefully you'll take it, because remember, the key sentence in the Miranda warning is anything you say can and will be used against you. That alone ought to make you shut the fuck up, because they're not going to take things that you say and use them to help you. Now, there are some cops that are going to say that's bullshit because we can exonerate them. Yeah, that's great, but if it's a highly publicized thing where you had to gun down some homicidal guy that's not white, listen, by the time the news gets it, they're going to be showing his 8th grade picture of him in his Cub Scout uniform, and you're already behind the curve in terms of fucking proving that you're not a psychotic, racist, fucking Klansman killer. A fucking loud-ass truck right next to me. Sorry about the sun. Every time I make a video in this truck, man, the fucking sun is coming right in at the lens. So I either can do this, or you can look up my nose and count the hairs. So keep your mouth shut. my opinion, my advice, get an attorney. Now, when you do end up in court, and you will, you're going to end up in criminal court maybe, and for sure you're going to end up in civil court, because whoever's left is going to sue the shit out of you, and the manufacturer of the gun, and the 7-Eleven that you were standing in the parking lot. It's just the way it goes. We're a litigious society, hard to say, and that's the way it works. But what I would, nice cutoff, asshole. Hang on, I'm going to do a pit maneuver. But what I would say is this. What would you say, Mike? Why are you fucking stammering? Because I'm fucking trying to multitask, and I'm a guy. We don't do that very well. What the fuck street is this? Okay, so... Man, am I already here? Yeah. Okay, so... One of the... Sorry about that, man. But, one of the things... And I know my videos are long. Suck it up, Buttercup. I'm not going to edit all this shit out. So... In your head right now, pre-shooting, long before you ever have to get to the point where you're taking somebody's life, I want you to start using certain terms in your thought process. And these are terms that are not bullshit, but they're just not terms that we're used to thinking in our everyday thought process. Sorry, I got to block the sun. We do not shoot people to kill people, okay? We shoot people to stop an action. You need to get that through your head in whatever language you use in your fucking internal dialogue, that you are never shooting to kill. And when you are questioned, even with your attorney, why did you shoot? What made you pull the weapon out? What made you... They're going to go through everything in your mind. What were you thinking just before you pulled the weapon? What were you thinking when you fired the first round? Your answers, hopefully this is the truth, if you're a good person, but you need to articulate it. In other words, good, well-meaning people can say, yeah, and then I shot him and killed him. Or what were you thinking? I was trying to kill him. You weren't really trying to kill somebody. That's not what you're doing. You're not out there to kill people. Nobody wants to kill people unless you're a fucking nutcase. But if somebody's advancing on you with a machete, or they're shooting at you, and you draw your weapon and put rounds into that body, into his meat suit, you're doing it to stop him or her from what they are doing. And that's the language that you need to remember to use. I was shooting them to stop them from causing me death or great bodily injury. And when you start thinking like that ahead of time, that is what's going to come out of your mouth later when it becomes critical. Because once again, anything you say can and will be used against you, even when you got your attorney with you. So just remember, you're shooting to stop. And with that in mind... somebody may say to you, well, if you put a bullet in somebody's head, isn't that going to kill them? Hey, man, that's not your job. You're not a pathologist, and you're not a fucking doctor, chances are. And you're not thinking about, I'm going to shoot and kill. But you are, hopefully, when you're training yourself and when you're at the range, you are getting used to putting each time you draw the weapon and fire, I want you to always get used to putting 2 rounds center massed right in the chest and 1 in the head of your target. And I want that to be built into muscle memory. And why is that? Well, somebody might say, well, shit, if you shoot somebody in the fucking head, you're going to kill them. That's not your concern. I'm saying that when somebody is coming at you with a deadly threat, a piece of lead going through their fucking bell housing group, aka head, will 99.9% of the time is going to stop them from doing that. And that's what you're trying to achieve. So why don't we just stop with the 2 in the chest, you might ask yourself. These are days when bad people it's very common for people to wear ballistic protection, bulletproof vest, body armor. That's not uncommon like it used to be years ago. People have that shit, bank robbers, store robbers, people are wearing those. Not only is the 3rd round to the head to compensate in the event that this guy has some sort of body armor on. But I'm going to tell you, I've seen people with my own beady eyes take rounds right in the fucking chest and keep on keeping on. Because they're either high on drugs, or they're just too stupid to realize that they're fucking dying, so they just keep on with the mission. Or they're just badass motherfuckers. Maybe they were paratroopers. And they've got that mindset that I'm going to finish this mission even with my fucking lungs hanging out of my ass. So, distance is an issue too. But if you're getting robbed at the gas station or the ATM and you put 2 rounds in the chest and that guy can still make 3 movements and 2 of those movements are, pulling a gun, What do you think the third movement's going to be? Well, he's already got his gun out. Don't get all fucking technical on me. Let's say that he's pulled a knife out, you put 2 in his chest, and he still has enough fucking life in him to stick you right in the throat with his knife. That happens all the time. So so in summary, you are gonna draw, you're gonna put 2 center mass, 1 to the head, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. That's how you shoot. That's how you train at the range. You know, we used to call it a double tap and a failure drill. I don't know if they still call it that. It's probably not politically correct anymore. The double tap is boom, boom, and the failure drill is if this failed, this won't fail. And that's, you know, no matter how you phrase it, the goal is what? Yes, you in the back. Right. You want to stop the deadly action that is taking place and putting you in threat, in danger. So, in summary, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. That's how you train. That's how you fight. And you're going to exercise your right to remain silent until you have an attorney with you, because you want to protect yourself and your family. You're not going to do anybody any good if you're fucking in jail for some shit you didn't, you know, that ends up, you get exonerated years later. Fuck that. Get yourself an attorney. And there's things out there like prepaid legal. The NRA has plans where you can buy insurance to where you get represented if you have to drop the hammer. You need to look into this shit. Carrying a weapon is very serious. I'm talking to you right now with a Glock 23 and 2 extra mags on me right now. That's not something that you should be taking lightly. It's a very serious proposition when you're carrying around deadly force. So you want to treat it serious. All right? So 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. Keep your fucking mouth shut till you have an attorney. And no matter who asks you and what setting you're in, whether it's a courtroom or an interview room, you were shooting to stop a specific action, which made you feel threatened that you were either going to be killed or completely seriously fucked up for the rest of your life. How does that sound? I hope that makes sense. Sorry about all the fucking hemming and hawing, but that's the way I roll. Hey, it's Saturday. It's not snowing. It's actually kind of short sleeve weather. Hope you guys are doing good. I love you, babe. I love S Tactical. Let me know your thoughts. I'm out.